I do feel like what happened that day could have easily been avoided, because it's just like you said, once those sandbags came out, it was like somebody took the stopper out of the bathtub and the water drained within 5 to 10 minutes. So to me, common sense says that if the sandbags were not in there during the rain and it had drained all along, we would have not had the flooding in our buildings. And it's very frustrating. You know, my car too was flooded. My car's still in the shop. I'm basically afoot because they keep finding things. I got it out of the shop and then, you know, more things. So when it floods, things just keep going on as time goes on. So I'm out now, going to be a rental car. I did have comprehension, but I still had to pay over $500 and still don't have the car back. So, you know, it's a big inconvenience to me being a realtor. You know, I do have another vehicle, but I also am having some problems with it. But if I didn't, I would really be in trouble. I just feel like that there should be some action as far as the city trying to help the people that are here now too with the expenses that were not covered under the insurance, if possible. You know, I do think the sandbags should have come out, you know, when the rain started, and I understand it's a state law, but then I think also we have to look at, you know, what's going to make sense. I don't think the state intended for the sandbags to stay in there when it's going to be detrimental to buildings that are here and cars that are here.
I'll bring you notes. Well, I put mine in a letter and addressed to you, Brad. And basically what it says is, in the opinion of our company, the damage was caused is totally preventable and should not occur. We're expecting the city to reimburse us for our losses and to make sure this type of event does not occur in the future. So we're not here to determine what contractor was at fault or who was at fault. We just know the blame is not our problem. There's not one person at this table that caused this event to happen, but we all incurred the damage because of the event. We like to say that we feel like if the city is harmed in any way, that they're in a position to deal with the contractors directly and to be reimbursed by the contractor's insurance. You're bonded. Being an ex-contractor, I'm very much aware of the power that the person that wrote the check has. I think that everyone at this table needs to be made whole. There's nothing worse than being flooded. There's nothing worse than watching your property being destroyed and being one-on-one, other than being exactly in the middle of that flood and being there with Gary's contractor out there when we pulled the sandbags and listening to that water go away. It's indescribable how much pressure was on those drains to suck that water out of there when it did get it out. And I'll bet you it's less than 5 minutes it was drained. I talked to Larry Eichenhorst up there, you can verify that. And he said 1 minute it was lapping at the door, and the next minute he looked up, he said less than a minute, all the water was gone. So I know that this was preventable. We might not have been able to stop all the water from accumulating in the streets, but we could have stopped the 3 or 4 inches that came into the buildings. And also, by pulling the sandbags, we took the water out of the buildings much faster. That in its own right helped save the buildings from a lot of damage of being soaked up in the water in the deal. I just wish we would have known that's what the answer was, and we would have pulled them faster, because I don't think this would have happened. And I am probably the most familiar with the water drainage in this area. I've been through bigger rains than this and not flooded. 2004 we had a 10-inch rain, no water in the buildings. In 1994 when it did flood, that was a 14-inch rain, and we had 2 inches of rain in the building, but that was prior to the city redoing the streets out here, and I think it was in 2003 where they changed the flow of the water and got the water off the streets faster. So what I'm saying is that I know the water around this area probably better than anyone. And I know that the event that we had was not enough to flood the buildings.
All right, I'll go. Let me just start out by saying at the beginning of the day, I don't think the city or the contractors woke up and said, who can we flood? I don't think there was any bad motives here, but at the end of the day, you had a situation where somebody did not do their job. There was negligence somewhere. You had innocent businesses. You had a lot of people in their offices with their nose to the grindstone trying to make a living as the water rose. Probably looked out the window and saw, oh, there's water in the street. Why would they think that water is going to continue to rise and come into the building? That is really not their job. So whose job is it to watch the water level in the street? We understand that there are laws and rules for sandbags blocking the drains. But like Joyce said, if you close a bathtub, it doesn't matter if you're running full blast or if you're running a trickle, eventually it's going to overflow because the water's got nowhere to go. You've got a combination of New World drainage taking place with the new streets, and you've got the Old World streets taking place. Somebody has to watch over the interests of the citizens, the businesses, and the building owners. So basically what you had innocent people trusting and depending on somebody to do their job to relieve the pressure of the water, like Phil said. Phil was nice enough to run out in the street and figure out that the water was being blocked by the bags. The water's going to have to get to the level of the bags before it will start draining. And even if it's raining hard, then you're too late. And that is, I agree with Phil. If the bags had been pulled earlier, there probably would have been street flooding, but probably not water in the vehicles, because we had water in the vehicle of Isabel that works with Lori. We had water in the vehicle of Chris. Joyce got flooded. This was an unusual event, but I think because we had so many witnesses watch the bags be pulled, and then ultimately the city did show up, and the water drained quickly. And then not long after that, it's my understanding that another hard rain came where the bags were left intact on a certain drain, and the water actually went over the curb, whereas the bags were pulled in another area and the drainage worked perfectly. So I think what we have here is we have drainage. We just had negligence in the bags over the drain. And we had a lot of people that depend on the city of Navasota. And I say the city of Navasota because the city is basically contracting this. We're really excited about the finished product. We cannot wait till this is finished. I think we all agree on that. And we appreciate what's happening here. But that does not excuse negligence in the process. And by innocent people that are working hard, Chris, for example, he's in there by himself. He doesn't have time to be going out there and watching the water levels. He is depending on somebody within the city or within the contracting business that the city has issued to go ahead and monitor that and take care of that. So again, I don't think that there was any bad motives here, but I think that somebody didn't do their job. And when innocent people are harmed, I guess we're looking to the city, the character of the city, the integrity of the city, and the responsibility of the city to step up and understand that yes, that happened. It shouldn't have happened. We'd like to work with you to resolve it. Nobody's trying to get rich here. Nobody's trying to, win the lotto here. I think we just want to kind of get, no one will even get back to where they were, because you can never take it back to where it was. But I think people are just trying to see some kind of restitution for the error that was committed and then go down the road. So, and then we want to work together. We all live together. So we want to continue to have a relationship, but as in any relationship, a problem occurred. So how do we deal with it? So we're just, I guess, the purpose of this meeting is to see how is the city going to respond to its citizens, business owners, and building owners,
Property owners.
to this, property owners to this, situation?
Well, first off, this was a flash flood. This is not the only place in town that flooded. We had flooding in every portion of town. We had upwards 5 inches of rain, wasn't that right, Gary, that you recorded in like a period of 15 to 20 minutes? So we had flooding all over town. So it was not an isolated case. Hopefully all you guys did file your claims with your insurance company, because that's the first thing, in a floodplain, everybody should make sure and file that with their insurance company first. I don't know yes or no whether the bags caused flooding. I'm not an engineer. I don't determine those things. The bags did not have the drains completely blocked. The bags are in front for a reason, and Gary, you can speak to this if you want. It's basically to prevent silt. It's part of a stormwater pollution plan that he's required. Any contractor is required to go by that. So the amount of rain that hit, and I've got that kind of figured out. I don't have it with me, but I had it at the office because I was in a meeting actually with, no, it wasn't with him, with the engineers when it hit. And it was about a 15-minute, it was that quick when the water just went just like that. Our staff was actually responding all over town. I had Gary in there with me. He was getting phone calls from staff in all various parts of town for people stranded, people with flooding, damage due to wind, and different things. So we were trying to get everywhere as quick as we possibly could. I know that Fuquay's men jumped out here as quick as they could and started trying to make sure that everything was, as good as it could be. One thing to remember, the sandbags are this tall, and I saw Eric standing out in water almost waist deep. So
Sandbags are 9.5 inches tall.
There's, but also there is a responsibility for everyone that owns property in a floodplain.
Okay, I want to explain to you what the floodplain is, okay, so you'll understand. Floodplain
I understand what a
is
floodplain is.
216 feet. That's the floodplain. Okay, we are definitely in that floodplain. It is not caused by runoff. It is caused by the bridge down there with an 8-foot girder that runs across it. When that water gets high in that creek and goes up to the top of that deal and starts getting blocked back, there's an 8-foot trestle. That 8 foot of water is the 8 foot that you have in this downtown area. So until that creek gets filled up all the way to the trestle, you're not talking about the floodplain. You're talking about drainage. Okay, and that I got pictures of that, Brad, of when the water actually did go up there. That's your 100-year flood. Hit that. The water backs up, comes across Washington, comes over the edge, and accumulates here. That is the 100-year floodplain. There's pictures of it. If you want to go pull them, they're in the 1970s. That's when the pictures were done. It shows the water coming out of the creek. There's 4 feet of water. In fact, there's a gauge. Used to be a gauge on that bridge over there, and it shows that picture.
But let me explain something out, Phil. Take anywhere you are. There's got to be drainage somewhere. Ditches, whatever. It's just like with a funnel. If you take this bottle and you take a funnel and you start pouring water in it, it drains.
Yeah.
But when you pour it real fast, it takes it a little bit to drain. That's exactly what's going to happen anywhere that you have any type of ditch, river, creek, anything. It takes time for it to go down. When it comes so fast, it can't handle it.
Understanding that. So the old system, the street over here drains the water this way. All right? McAlpine was about a foot down from here. It drained down to Railroad Street. The new plan, the water drains this way, and it drains over this way, and it drains into 2 drains that are not here.
Right, we had no drains. So.
The water accumulates in the barrel here, and there's no place for it to go. You put 9.5 inches of sand around it, and you have a throat this big over the top. The water comes over the top and it shuts those drains down.
But I want to remind you that those drains on Railroad Street that have nothing on them, they were backed up because the pipe was so full, because of such quick runoff coming in,
Railroad Street
that it filled up, and it backed up further than most anybody had ever seen.
Right.
There were sandbags.
So that was part of it.
Sandbags are on Railroad Street. They're on Railroad Street.
And on Harlock Street, everything was blocked. There's still sandbags down there, and it's finished. What's the big deal?
It's not finished. There's still, the contractor feels that there's still not enough stability in the soil because he's required by law to keep those there. It's not something that I made up, Mr. Evans, I'm sorry.
Well,
it's something that is actually a federal law by the EPA.
But something that needs to be addressed a little bit quicker. We didn't see anybody from the city here till after 3 o'clock. The water was gone by then because the sandbags got moved.
But we were here. You might not have seen
I
it.
saw
You wasn't
like
a
5 or
citizen
6
of the
men
city.
sitting on
No, there
the
was some-
porch
Not
over
here.
There was
just
somebody.
looking. They
No.
weren't helping
There's
employees.
not one
You
of them
can't
out
see
there.
everything.
And they didn't stop the 2 trucks that came through and put a foot of water in these buildings. And fact of the matter is, if Gary hadn't have been nice enough to move that tractor across there, we still would have had trucks going through there. There was no police, and there was no services.
But we had flooding in all parts of town, and I had calls in all parts of town. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is it takes time to get dispatched to every location. And we had debris across roadways, we had people stranded, so we were trying to respond the best we could to every need that was out there.
I started calling as soon as it started raining. Why were we the last person to have the city show up? And none of the roads were blocked. I started calling, everybody started calling. The only person I could get to block that road was Mr. Gary. And nobody showed up to block it. And that's my frustration, because we wouldn't have had as much water if we'd have had some city help. There was no city employees here until 4 o'clock.
They were here.
There was no barrier.
Show me.
Show us the barrier.
I watched them put up barricades because I had to go down the alley the wrong way They before only put one 1. barricade up, and then he moved that one down
It's your
there.
word against mine.
Show me somebody that was here.
I can
Prove
name,
it.
I can name 2
Prove it.
We
We
proved
know.
they weren't here, James.
We
Mr.
know it
Brad?
wasn't.
You proved they weren't here.
Mr. Brad?
If I can prove they were here, you prove they weren't here.
We've got how many people here against you?
I'm standing on.
Mr. Brad?
We know.
Mr. Brad?
You're right.
This young lady here has something to say about her subdivision. May she talk?
Okay, I live over here off on Malcolm Street. And it
Please.
over on Malcolm Street,
You have your name, please.
Your name?
Willie Mae Gordon. And the one,
Willie Mae what?
Gordon. And the drainage system they have over there belongs to the city. They need to dig it out because every time it rains, it's flooded out and water just flows in my backyard. And this time it got so close to my house, it put my air conditioner out. It was just that high. And in front, you couldn't even see the road for the water.
What's your address?
1006 Malcolm. So they need to dig that drain out where it run back out, where it goes way back on 1227.
I guess it goes back to what I was saying, Brad. You can't imagine the feeling that you have when you're standing on your property and water comes in and it destroys your property. You just can't imagine that feeling. I mean, it's the most horrible feeling you can have. You have nothing you can do about it.
I've been there. I know it.
Well,
My parents' home's been flooded 4 times.
I know,
I've been
but I'm
there.
talking about your personal, and you sitting there trying to figure out how you're going to pay, how you're going to get your business back open. You don't have this in the budget, okay? You don't have it in the budget. Now, you're going to have to scrape. I haven't filled in the holes in here because I still don't have the money to go in there and fix the sheetrock. I don't have the money to replace this carpet. It's starting to pull apart over here in the corner where it got wet. There's some people that had to replace that carpet. I don't know where they got the money. It's probably taking it out of funds that just, they don't have it. And I'm just saying, we
One
know.
thing that we have done, we did, the mayor declared a disaster We requested the assistance from the Division of Emergency Management from the state of Texas. Those folks have been here. They have looked around. Now, according to what Jason told me, there was a guy here looking at the residential flooding last week. They're working with SBA to get SBA here for the businesses that were affected.
They want us to loan us money. Yeah, we don't want to borrow money. We didn't do this.
Well, but I understand, but also understand that flash floods occur, and we don't control those either.
I have one question. With all the planning that y'all have done, and I love it, it looks really pretty, but with all the planning that you've done, did y'all plan for an emergency? Did you have a plan in place? Like, if it did flood, we're going to have people out there to move those bags, we're going to get these, because we have no drainage anymore.
Right. I know he doesn't want to hear an excuse, right? We don't control those bags.
Not
The
just the
contractors
bags,
control
but
the
the
bags.
pre-planning for a flood here, since our water couldn't go anywhere. We got water from down the alley. We were like a funnel, and the water usually would roll and go out. But then this time it didn't have anywhere to go because that water was coming this way.
Well, I mean, that's why they put drains in first. They put the drains in first so that they're going down here.
We had no drains; those were blocked.
Right.
But in pre-planning, I think that, like I said, I saw 6 guys up there when he was knee-deep in water. It was your city guys. They didn't know what to do. They were standing underneath the balcony, and the water was knee-deep. Everybody was so confused, and we asked for the barricades, and we wanted to block the streets to keep the water from running in because people were driving everywhere. They brought 1 or 2, Phil.
One down there. Gary put the one down there.
I thought you drove that one down there.
Well, there's one that they had down there. There's 2 down there, but the city came by after the water had stopped.
Well,
2:30 or something.
Yeah. But I just thought there would be something planned for an emergency type situation like that. If it did happen, you planned so well for everything else, what about a flood?
It's just pretty hard to plan for a flash flood. Just
Well,
remember, there's only been one guy in this world that ever got to plan for a flood.
But did we not, every meeting we had, we talked about the flood.
That if it happened again and those drains weren't blocked, it wouldn't flood. I'll make you that bet.
It didn't happen the following
You might lose.
It rained that much the following week and they were moved and it didn't flood.
It didn't rain that fast.
Sunday we had a 3.5-inch rain. They had that out there.
All day long.
No.
No.
It was out there. I saw you driving through here and I was out there and we saw the rain come down. We felt it. It had the same volume. Let me tell you what else it didn't happen. We didn't have an inch of water in the street. Not 1 inch.
But we didn't have the amount of rain in the short period of time that we had that day on the
We
15th of
understand, we
February.
saw the dirt chart, Brad, it went like this, that's the peak. It was at the top, I understand that, okay? But this to here would have
But there's
drained
a
off.
difference when you design something for drainage. If it comes 20 inches over time, it'll drain. But if it comes 5 inches in 10 minutes, it's hard to drain. It's just like I was telling you about a funnel.
That's manure. If you've got enough pipe in there to carry it, it'll run.
You willing to pay for that much pipe?
Supposedly you had it.
No, sir. No, sir.
Well,
Not to handle that kind of rain. Nobody designs one, or if they do, they spend a lot of money to take on that amount of water.
Explain to me how, when the bags were moved, the water was gone in less than 5 minutes.
Because the rain had let off.
That has nothing to do with it. The water's still here.
none of it drains off that fast.
It wouldn't have been here.
If it's coming down faster than it can go in.
It wouldn't have been here at all because it would have
Okay,
run
y'all,
off.
just tell me everything you've got and I'll take
I'm
it
gonna have
back.
to run.
Yeah.
Let me put in my 2 cents for what it's worth. I'm Eric Linder, and I'm the broker over at Integrity Real Estate Group. And I think what you have here is quite a few business owners that feel like they're not getting justly treated. And that's not a good thing for the city. I have 6 kids, and sometimes my kids, being kids, they work harder at getting out of doing what they're supposed to do, or getting out of doing it the right way, or what they need to do. And sometimes it's easier just to do the right thing, I feel like you know, I've been in business here since August, you know, and I'll be honest with you, Brad, in my heart, the verdict's out still on whether I feel like my city is going to back me or prevent me from being the type of business that I would like to be. I want a city that's going to promote me and help me to build a successful business. And I don't want to always be fighting City Hall. And I don't think that's what anybody here wants. And I don't think you want that, obviously. But I feel like, you know, in everything I do, it basically goes back to the Bible. And the Bible says, when it's within your power to do good, do good. It says, especially to those who are of the household of faith, I feel like that would say to those that are in your city, you know, if you have the power, then you do it. You know, I feel like you're getting all these excuses, and I'm not an expert on this stuff, but all I do know is it was still raining. It wasn't raining hard. It's hard, but I was knee deep, as you've seen in those pictures. And within, you know, I had left to go home to get some towels to come back, so I was probably not here the whole time. But what they were telling me, but when I walked back home and got back over here within that amount of time, I was gone. So it's hard. It's hard. There's not one person, not one, Brad, not one, that was out here seeing this that would believe that moving those sandbags wasn't the real issue. Not one. Now, you can debate that, and you can make all these people here feel like you don't have their back. And I don't think that's the kind of city we ought to have. I want a city, I want a community, I want you know, City Hall to support me in what I do. I want to feel like they're backing me. Now, I'm not saying that always has to be in the form of restitution, but you know what I do want? I want the truth. You know, right. If we're in the right, you're all. I mean, that's the truth of the matter is, somebody's right and somebody's wrong, and maybe we'll never know that. But
well, and that's what I was going to say, Eric. I don't know. I can't tell you for sure if they were there or not there what would happen. But let me just finish. I feel like though everybody that's on this street feels like we've been told, well, that's just not the case. Those bags in place, no, that was not the problem. There's not a person that was down here that's seen what really happened would believe you. Okay? Everybody else might believe you, but there's not anybody that was here that was present that saw what happened there that would believe that. You know what? I don't work that way. I'm sorry, I just don't. That's not the way I operate. I don't care if it costs me. I don't care if I have to dish out of my pocket. I'm going to do what's right, regardless of you know. It's the way I am, and I want my city to do the same thing. Well, I guess I've got a question for everybody. Okay, because we had flooding in places that, as far as we know, haven't ever flooded. So what you're saying is that the city should go ahead and pay for losses in all of those places.
Well,
Because it was such a large flash flood. I've got flooding on a hill. I've got flooding in areas that is, I mean, I've only been here 6 years, but they've never flooded, and people said they've never had water in their house in these locations.
This was because
So-
of construction.
Well, wait a minute. I'm making a point here.
Okay.
This all happened at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Nothing's different. I mean, we're talking miles away had the same type flooding. Okay, they're not affected by any construction down here in those locations, and these are people that haven't had water in their homes before. So my question is that what you guys think, that we should go ahead and make everybody whole that got flooded all over town?
I guess my point is, you know, these are business owners, property owners, that are bringing revenue into the city, and they feel like you're not really taking care of them. You don't have their back, and that's not a good feeling to be in a town doing business where you don't feel like that you're going to be taken care of if something does happen that, you know, your city should be taken care of.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with
That's
that,
fine.
because I think that we have done a lot of things to try to help and improve businesses in this town, all over this town.
Well, I'm not debating that,
And
Brad.
so-
I'm debating this instance.
I understand.
I'm not
But
deba-
that's
I
the
think-
point I'm making with the issue of flooding all over town.
Everything else you're doing is great, and here again, we're debating this issue. We're not debating.
I think Eric's saying
Everything
that
else.
what everybody believes is that we watched it happen. We were in the water. We were part of the water. We watched things happen, and when certain things happened, boom, it was over with. Gone. Water was gone. That's the reason that we're not going on based on the little chart going like this or that or this. We were standing in the street. We watched the water. One of Gary's guys over there, one of his foreman over there that was helping us do that, making sure we didn't get sucked in the drain. I appreciate that, by the way. His comment was, wow. Wow. You could physically watch the water come off the side of that building over there. There was a foot up on that orange building, a red building, a green building, whatever color it is over there. There was a foot up on that building. They watched the water physically come this way. Just like the tide was coming out. It just disappeared. It sucked it in there. Never heard that sound before. Never heard that sound before. And I know for a fact that it was sucking that water out. It didn't have to take but 4 inches of water. That's it. It may have been 3 feet of water out there, but there's only 4 inches that made any difference. Now the question is that 9.5 inches make that much of a difference in 4 inches of water? And I guarantee you it did. Because you could have had that event for 10 minutes and had the other 20 minutes, water would be gone. There wouldn't have been any water there. So we would have been looking at a reduction of less than 12% surface water here in town. Less than 12%, but probably 10%. The other thing is the water wouldn't have been here as long in the building. It may have come in, but it would have gone right back out. Whereas it stayed here for over an hour until we decided that we were pulling those sandbags, and we pulled them. Gary's guys helped us pull them. And I tell you that within that matter of time, it was gone.
Phil, were you the first person out there?
In that hour, that water sitting in here, it's amazing how much damage that's. You can watch the water soak up in the sheetrock as it goes up.
Phil, were you the first person out to pull the bags
You know, Gary's guys were over there. It was kind of a mutual deal.
at the same time?
Yeah, there's pictures. Rosemary has pictures of them pulling the bags and how far the water was up, and you can look at the picture and actually see the water drops hitting around them. So, and it wasn't little ones, because you're getting the splashes. If you can see it on film, you surely can imagine how the water was coming down. And that water receded, and I know there's at least 4 or 5 people standing there in the corner watching it happen. Because when I pulled it, the first thing I asked them to do, I turned around and I looked at them, I said, y'all remember this? Because it was so unbelievable watching the water come off of them, just a wave of it, and the water just disappeared. And I don't think it took 5 minutes for that water to get away.
So, and I would like to address your question. You said if you had to either address or deal with us, and you would have to possibly deal with everybody that got flooded. I don't think that's a correct statement, in that we have bags in front of our drains. Do they have bags in front of their drains?
But you're in a floodplain and they're not.
But do they have bags in front of their drains? Because
But you're in a floodplain and they're not as well. I don't know the answer. Paul, I can't tell you whether the bags caused the problem or not, and I'm not going to try to venture to guess. I mean, that's far beyond my engineering capability.
well, let me back
If
up.
you'd been here, you'd have known it.
I was here.
You wasn't right here. You didn't see that. Oh, yeah, that's good, standing over under the canopy.
Well, let me kind of back up, Brad, something you said earlier. You said every area's got to have drainage. And what we had, if you have a funnel, then it'll back up. Well, this area had no drainage, and the funnel here was created.
I disagree. It had drainage.
Ow.
Hey, I've been...
Ow.
Hey,
Where was the
see you
drainage?
later.
Gary, were those drains completely blocked?
yes,
No, they weren't.
Yes, they
they
were.
were completely blocked.
Go out there and look. They are not blocked and have not been blocked, James. I got
Horse manure.
Where are you talking? The only thing that's open is
If they're
the top.
blocked, that means no water can get in them.
They are blocked.
Going north.
I'm not gonna argue. I mean,
We
it
can't
doesn't do
get-
any good because.
We're not getting any further.
You know, I've been here 53 years. I've been here longer than anybody in this place. And I have never seen water blocked like that before. I've seen water get high and it drains. But if it can't drain, what's it gonna do? It's gonna stand right there. And let me say, I went into my back office and I had 4 inches of water in there, maybe 5. I said, I've got to get it out of here. I went and got a submergible pump and some tubing to run it out of there so it would create less damage. By the time I got back, the bags had been moved and the water was gone.
And it rains.
No, it was raining like big time, because I got wet doing
Well,
it.
I mean, I'll take all of your concerns and we'll go and we'll see if there's some, what can be done.
What is the situation to keep this from happening as long as this construction is going on? I have not slept. Every time it starts raining, I'm up down here, making sure this temporary drain that Mr. Fuquay put in for me keeps me from flooding it again. I think, I have moved sandbags till I'm up to here moving sandbags every time it rains, because I'm afraid that it's going to come into my building. I lost a week's worth of work, Brad. I can't afford to have it again.
I understand.
If you want to put her out of business, all you got to do is have one more.
I'm barely surviving now because of the construction.
I'm sorry to tell you, I can't control rain.
I understand you
That's the only thing I
can't.
can.
This is controlled.
But we do have,
I'm not even going there. This is controlled.
just go ahead and I'll just take what you've got.
What I want to say
Go
is,
back.
you were down here Saturday driving. Yeah, okay. Did you go to Holland? How bad was the water on Holland?
It's a little deeper than it was.
Okay, that's because the sandbags have the corners blocked. There is nowhere for that water to go until it goes over the top of a sandbag. There's no way. It can go anywhere on the corners. It can't, because the corners are blocked. If you can leave the front of those drains open and still have the sandbags there, you get drainage. But the corners were blocked. The corners are still blocked. I cannot even sleep because I think it's going to rain.
And I'm up every time you are. Every time it rains, I'm down here.
I'll admit to that. I've seen you
Every
driving
time.
around, and I wave at you all the time, because I'm
Have
standing here on
you-
the corner waving at you.
Because
And I'm out
that's
there.
my wife.
I'm out
I
there.
wake up, I jump up, and I come down here.
I'm out there cleaning the drain.
I'm in a bowl.
I don't believe in letting everybody sit here and worry. I worry just as much as you do.
Okay, but if it gets deeper, you gonna pull a sandbag like I've been pulling them?
If I have to do it, that's what I'll do.
Have you pulled any?
I understand it's a law. EPA should not have the right to hurt a business owner. I am so aggravated with the EPA right now up to here.
No, but I mean, just because you have a sandbag doesn't give you the right to, doesn't give them the right to flood. If you're going to use a sandbag, then you got to come up with a way of getting rid of the water.
You need an overflow,
I mean, if I'm running a
something.
business, I'm going to do whatever the government tells me to, but I'm also going to protect my butt so I don't get sued.
If it rains right now, tomorrow, I'm flooding again. There's nowhere for the water to go except in this temporary drain I have got right here. The whole Navasota drains right here. LaSalle, Washington, it all drains right there. Every bit of it.
And the drains over on that side got leaves all over them, so the water comes across them and comes this way too. They're not
LaSalle
clean.
flooded because there's no way for the water to go except
We
here.
just drove around today, Brad, and there's leaves in every gutter, all the way over to Church Street to here. When that happens, if the water gets in, it goes across there, then the water just shoots straight across. It can't go in.
The hardest part here is, Brad, there's so many witnesses.
Yeah.
Lori's not a flood engineer, but she just sat there and told you the way the water was coming. That was a busy time. I called you a couple times. It was a busy time. And Gary was busy, and you said earlier you had guys all over the city. But unfortunately, we feel, and the witnesses feel, there was really nobody here. But it's understandable because there is no plan for an emergency. And you were just reacting. You are trying to do the right thing. I believe that. I believe you drive around and you do worry about us. But the bottom line is, we got wronged. Somebody in this process knows they didn't do their job. somebody does. So I'm going to defer to what Eric said. I want to sleep at night, and as long as we know somebody knows the truth, and if they don't act on it, then they can live with it. Because we're going to go on. When we leave here, this is going to be beautiful, but this was a mistake. And I guess you have to do what you're doing, but there's too many witnesses in here that saw it. There's too many people that are in the water. Phil was jumping in. They saw city people standing around because there was no plan. And the flood rose, and then once it starts coming in, it does upset everybody because you can't stop it. It's like a bathtub. When that thing's plugged, and it doesn't matter if you're trickling it or if you're high, it's going over. And that's what happened. So I guess I'm deferring to Eric. It's really a situation of the character of the city and its contractors to understand that these people are not lying on what they saw. We're not going to disagree with you on downpours, but when you have the drains covered, that's a different issue. You said it yourself. You got to have drainage, and in this case, if you have a funnel, if it rains too hard, it's going to start to back up. But the problem here was the funnel was created. If the bags had been moved, there wouldn't have been a funnel. We'd have cut the narrow part off, and there may have been flooding in the streets, but it wouldn't have come in the buildings because we're only talking about that much water. But that much water put everybody out of business. It created a huge amount of stress. But I'll tell you what, the good thing that came out of it, everybody in here came together and we're schlepping carpet. We were dirty and stinky, and we worked together as a common cause. And so I guess that's what, and what Eric said, we're looking to the city here to stand up and accept that something did happen here. And these innocent people got penalized by it. What can we do to help them? After that, we got to all go down the road. We got to continue with the construction, and it's going to look very nice. But this is a business issue. It's not emotional. It's a functional issue. The water had nowhere to go. And we're in the middle of two worlds here. New construction, old streets, bags in front of the drains. Look, I'm not a rocket scientist, okay? I'm a salesman. But I can tell you, if water is going to bang up against a bag, it's going to keep rising till it gets to the top. And at the top, you got that little hole. And then I'm going to say this. And then the next day, we were supposed to have all those hard rains. I drove around and I saw every drain, every bag had been pulled and stacked neatly up high on the concrete so the drains were fully open. What does that mean?
Ask him, I don't know.
So anyway, that being said, you know, we got to all live together after this.
I understand.
Okay, but I think you're seeing a lot of people with good motives stepping up. They witnessed it, and like you said, you got to have water, you got to have drainage. We didn't have it, and the funnel was created. We didn't create that. These people are working. Poor Chris here. He doesn't make that much money. He's got issues, and everybody's got their nose to the grindstone. We're relying on somebody that's involved with this construction to look out, watch our backs, like Eric said. So that's all.
Anybody have a piece?
Be worthless. Big waste of time.
Hopefully it's not loaded. I will say that I appreciate you, Brad, coming over here.
Yeah.
You knew this wasn't going to be an easy meeting. Okay, but I do
I'll
want you to
admit,
know
I wasn't expecting everyone to be greeted with
very seldom do you have this many people that are all on the same page in the city, and they were. But I do appreciate you coming, and you, Peter, thank you. Gary, thank you for coming. This wasn't going to be a fun meeting. I do have the
Yeah, I need your letter.
letter, and also behind there is the list of expenses that I spent.
Well,
And, I just want you to know that, you know, I feel like this is a chance for Navasota and the citizens to start a new road. You know, we have to do this. We have to. We're going to be successful in this town. The citizens in the city have to work together.
owe it.
And this is an opportunity, and I hate to say this is an opportunity for the city. I don't hate to say it, but it's an opportunity for the city to step up. And it's also, if the city does, it's an opportunity for the citizens to be appreciative of what the city's doing.
Since everybody in town knows.
So, I just want to thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thank y'all.
Brad, do you have any idea what the schedule's gonna be for the rest of what we're doing?
Well, we're supposed to have a meeting. That's another meeting. That's
Yeah,
a separate
Gary's
thing.
setting that up.
Okay.